our very insightful agents and investors from across the country. Today is Thursday, January 22nd, 2026, and this is All the Leads Mastermind Podcast number 561. Tim, what do you have for us this week?
You're the man this week, buddy. You had some stuff going on, and I figured we'd let you run a little bit today.
All right, well, we'll see where it goes. What Tim is referencing this week, I attempted to contact about 18 of our late mortgage subscribers that have been with us for a year or more. And I think I talked to 8 or 9, talked about half of them. And the good news is they all had done a deal or 2 or 3. So it was a good ROI. But the common denominator I heard from them was, the percentage of people that answer the phone was very low. I got anywhere from 10 to 20, 25%. And so anyway, I asked them all to be on the call. I don't know if any of them are here, but a couple of them had started doing some texting campaigns that seemed to be working somewhat well. One of them was just starting to do YouTube videos. And anyway, I just thought it'd be a good place to start this week, because I don't think it just applies to late mortgage. Way back in the golden ages when I was selling real estate, I used to make 100 contacts a day, but you could do that. When you called people, they answered the phone. Today, if you call 100 expireds and FSBOs, from what I hear, you're lucky if 3 or 4 of them answer. And obviously, the nice thing about probate and late mortgage, their phone's not ringing off the hook, but people have gotten so conditioned to not picking up the phone unless they know who it is that, it is an issue for sure, and so I just thought I'd throw it out there. Obviously, we believe if you mail, that's going to increase your recognition, and hopefully you're going to have more conversations. But I think no matter what kind of prospecting you're doing today, if you're going to pick up the phone, you either got to do a whole lot more of it. Obviously, you can vary the call times. I know our friend Matt had appointments today. I don't know if he's here today, but that's one of his kind of secret sauces, is that he varies the call times. I used to call 3 or 4 times during the week, and then if I didn't get him, I'd try on a Wednesday night. If I didn't get him then, I'd try on a Saturday morning. So, obviously that's one suggestion, but I'm just curious. We got some brilliant people on this call, and Steve already raised his hand. If anybody is doing anything effectively to increase the number of conversations you have, we'd love to hear about it. And Steve, we'll start off with you. Coach Steve has some thoughts, please.
Hi, Jim, and everybody else. Yeah, your point about people picking up the phone, I'm almost startled when they do pick up the phone, because that's just kind of the way it's been as of late. And when I speak to new subscribers, I tell them the same thing. Look, you're going to spend, it's going to be less than 10%. It's a lot of squeeze, not a whole lot of juice, but it's still effective if you can get somebody on the phone. And I think part of this too is now with looking at a number, not knowing that number, people not picking it up, maybe letting it go to voicemail. That happens a lot. I know I do it. If I don't know who it is, you screen your calls. Perhaps it is an inopportune time. Maybe they want you to leave a message. I think the other thing that's confounding too is I've had folks call me and it'll ring once or twice. It's not a ringless voicemail, but it'll ring once or twice, and you pick it up and you say hello, and then there's nothing. It actually goes dead, but it'll leave you a voicemail saying, hey, you've been approved for this loan. Please call us back if you're interested, or to opt out. I'm thinking, opt out? Man, I never opted in. So it does make it all the more difficult for folks who are dialing. I mean, it was like, look, if I get someone on the phone and they say, look, I'm not borrowing any money. I don't care what the deal is. I'm not interested. Please take me off your list. You don't even get that opportunity anymore. They want you to call them. And respectfully, I'm not going to take the time to call somebody back to do that. And I figure they keep dialing enough times and I don't pick up the phone. Okay, this dude isn't interested, and they're moving on.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. I'm curious, if we talked a couple months ago, I had shared an incident where I do the same thing. If I don't recognize it, I don't answer. But my phone rang twice and they hung up, twice and they hung up. The third time they called, I picked up like, who is this? Well, it was my doctor's office. And the girl said, yeah, I've gotten the habit of doing that, because otherwise people don't answer. She wanted to call to confirm an appointment with me. So I wonder if anybody has tried that. It seems like that could be a pretty effective way to do it. Because it tells me when I see that happen, it tells me it's not automation, it's probably a human. And I just wonder, I know we talked about that. I wonder if anybody else has tried it. And Matt's on. Matt's got all the secrets to making calls. So we were just talking, Matt, about what do you do extra to get people to answer the phone today when they won't answer? We talked about, hanging up and calling back a couple times, calling at different hours. And I'm curious, Matt, I've heard some really, I had like 9 conversations with ringless voicemail people, and at least 3 people were not ringless voicemail, late mortgage clients. At least 3 of them told me that they gave up on doing it themselves, and they've recently had you start making the calls. And I think one of them had been doing it long enough that they were very happy. And I think the other 2 were kind of brand new. So save the day here. Give us a magic solution, Matt. What works?
Yeah, no pressure, right? Well, I think the most important thing is to not fall in love with just one vertical and one medium. I mean, obviously, you guys with sending out the letters makes a huge difference. I mean, some people just won't pick up the phone. You could literally be, Publishers Clearinghouse and Ed McMahon, and now, I'm probably dating myself with that, but literally, offering $1 million, and sometimes they just won't pick up. Obviously, you can do the double dial. I've had people do a triple dial. Just get ready. You're going to have a lot of venom if they pick up the phone. But text is obviously always a good other alternative option. You just got to watch with that. And yeah, really like that's why a lot of times we do like Facebook retargeting. We've actually been doing. We kind of revamped our Facebook retargeting marketing program, and that's worked out very well. But it's just hitting them in different mediums and different verticals. Because like I said, sometimes they just won't pick up the phone no matter what you do.
Matt, that was a product that you were actually Facebook retargeting you did for your clients that you were making calls for. Is that a separate product that you're doing for other people also?
Yeah, we kind of rolled it out as like a separate thing because if I'm just being very transparent, I was not charging enough to pay somebody to actually do the work. I was literally taking it all on myself, and I'm like, yeah, this isn't working so well. So trying to run a business and then running ads for everyone, I was like, yeah, that probably won't work as well as I wanted to. So I have a dedicated person now that's all they do, and we've actually really adopted AI pretty heavily. So I've been able to do it for late mortgage, for divorce. We've been able to work on different realms of the business and not just probate specifically, but also those other areas. And with late mortgage, it's funny because I almost feel like it's one of those like scare tactic things of like but you want to try to get them on the phone as quickly as you can. So telling them, hey, you're behind, and working things out with the lender doesn't always work out so well. Why don't you reach out to us and see if we can, help eliminate the problem altogether by buying the house from you. So I've just started running those at a pretty high level. So excited about that.
Thank you. Aline's got her hand up, but one question, a follow-up question, Matt. And I know you probably you haven't been doing it long enough to have an exact number, but somebody who's getting a 10 to 15% answer rate when they're making the calls, how much of a difference does retargeting make? Is it measurable, or is it just kind of anecdotal?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, first off, if they're only getting 10 to 15%, I would highly recommend that they either switch the times that they're calling, or switch the numbers they're calling from, or make sure that the number they are calling from is not spam. That is always something that we've had to keep a really close, watchful eye on, because, if your number shows up as spam, the likelihood of someone picking up is slim to nil. And so the way our system works, we actually have it built out to where it'll make a certain number of calls from one phone number. If they don't pick up on that phone number, it'll automatically switch to another local number to kind of help switch things up. But as far as your question about Facebook and social media, with your running retargeting ads, depending on what you're spending on it, I mean, you could spend as much as $5 to $7 a day. I don't recommend spending that much. You could spend probably $2 to $3 a day and still get a decent return for that. And so, I mean, just spending like for 100 leads, I mean, we're usually averaging, 1 to 2 people that reach out on Facebook for every 100 leads. And then we're also getting, 1 to 2 people for when we're calling. So we're almost doubling our results by doing that. And it really does help a lot. I mean, especially if you play the long-term game and you do it for the longer you do it for, the only downside to it is you got to have at least a minimum of 1,000 people that you're creating this audience for. So if you're like brand new and you're just saying, hey, I'm just going to start today, the likelihood of you being able to do it and do it effectively is very slim because you got to have at least a minimum size audience of 1,000. So that's, a little food for thought. But I mean, it does work very well, especially if you've been doing it for a while and you have a large enough audience, you could easily do it. It's good for people doing retreads or retargeting, or not retreads, I'm sorry, the refresh program. If they got a lot of leads, that'd be a great way to stay in front of those guys, and you have a large enough list that as you refresh the data, you would know that you're marketing to the right people.
And Matt, if anybody on the call is interested in having you do that program, how would they contact you? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Tim, what's the best way to get a hold? Is it the same website, right? It's a website.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just our website, alltheleads.com/AT or appointments today.
It's been so long. That's a great question. Let's see. It might be either that or it's alltheleads.com/ISA. Indigo, Sally, Apple, ISA. Alltheleads.com/ISA.
Perfect. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Good insights, buddy. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Aline?
Yeah, so really to piggyback on what Matt just said, which is, maximizing pickups is calling at different times. I used to be a very big advocate of being consistent at the same time every day. And that's wonderful because it's a good way to be consistent. But yet what I found when I couldn't be consistent in the morning, which was an ideal time for me, and then I would call in the afternoon, I would then sometimes get more answers. So varying that up definitely, it also like spices it a little bit. It makes it a little bit more interesting. But for the most part, you may catch somebody that you tried in the morning. Next time you try them in the afternoon, they end up picking up. And it's not necessarily that they're not looking to answer, but maybe just catching them at a different time. And then Matt, I think you've also said this before, which is if there's 4 numbers, calling all the numbers and then going back to the first number again. I've been successful with that, where they may not pick up on the first ring, but not hanging up and redialing right away the same number, because that's definitely an opportunity to aggravate somebody. But after you've dialed the 3 or 4 other numbers, then going back to that first number, which is usually your top number, that I've also found success in. And I'm a very big advocate of dialing all the numbers that we've had because many, many times that 4th or 5th number is the brother, sister, uncle, ex, somebody that's going to lead you to the right person.
Yeah, it's interesting. One thing you said, I don't disagree with it. You could aggravate them, call them back 3 or 4 times, but it's like the receptionist in my doctor's office. I was aggravated when I picked up the phone. But she did get me to talk to her, and then when she explained why she did it, I kind of understood. Yeah, so
yes, but that's because it's somebody that you know. When it's somebody that you don't know, it's very hard to qualify yourself. So I try not to aggravate right away. Like I feel like even if it's just going to take me another 2 minutes before I dial that number again, it's not back to back, so it gives it a little bit of a pause.
Sure. You reminded me back when I was, a client and I was coaching for Mike Ferry. It used to be like, set your schedule and stick to it. It took me a while to realize that I had to vary from the schedule occasionally as far as I didn't want to work nights or weekends, but man, I found like 10 to 1 on Saturday was just everybody answered their phone. Where there's people that wouldn't answer 5-10 times during the week, 9 to 5, would pick up on Saturday morning, as long as you didn't call too early. So, even if you only do it you only if you do it every other week or once a month. You don't have to work every Saturday, but be willing to vary the times. It makes a difference.
Definitely. And I think you can create that within a schedule. So, making that schedule be like Mondays this time, Tuesdays that time, whatever it is. And it varies it up. Like it even makes it a little bit more interesting as for calling. Because
Yeah. We used to have in our office, we had a pizza and beer party like on Wednesday night, and everybody would come in and get free pizza and beer if they were willing to willing to make the calls. But make it a group effort, make it kind of fun. Yeah,
You gotta bribe them sometimes.
Yeah.
What's that, Matt?
I said you gotta bribe them sometimes. I mean, hey, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Exactly. I got a kick out of your Ed McMahon Publishers Clearinghouse reference. You don't look like you're old enough to remember that.
I mean, I'm 40, but yeah, I still remember it. I mean, it's funny because, again, sometimes you'll do everything you can to get these people on the phone and they don't always pick up. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, this was way back in the day before, I mean, it was like 2003, before things were very regulated. When I called for mortgages, I used to say, hey, you won't believe what your neighbor told me about you. Give me a call back right away. I think you're going to want to know. And they'd call me back and they'd be like, what'd my neighbor say? I'd be like, oh yeah, we accidentally called your neighbor. They said that you might want to look into some lower interest rates. So is that, and they would get but they'd call back. It worked. And then of course, said you couldn't say those things anymore. So, I mean,
yeah,
anything. At the time, it was anything to get them on the phone. But you learn lessons very quickly with that.
And that's another key point. You got to have fun with it. If you're having fun, you're going to be relaxed, and it's not brain surgery. If you make somebody mad, oh well, maybe you won't get that one deal, but move on to the next one. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Again, anybody? Brenda's got her hand up. Brenda, please share with us.
Yeah.
Unmute yourself. Yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
I used to do the probate and then I started doing like the recently deceased, which I seem to get more people that answer. However, I'm wondering if there's any other agents on here and what you are saying when they do answer.
By recently deceased, are you working death notices or were you getting the data?
From you guys, from all the leads, it comes in, I get them, and then they're usually a month, sometimes a couple of weeks ago they passed away, and then I go
Probate.
down.
Jim's pre-probate.
Pre-probate. Gotcha. Okay. Perfect.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Because the
good
probate leads, in my experience over the years when I was doing the probate, I didn't get anything out of it because they already, we are already listed. I already have an attorney, and the attorneys, everybody knows a real estate agent. So
What's your market, Brenda? Where do you
Las
do
Vegas.
business? Okay. Yep. Yeah. There's some markets. Colorado is the investors are very, very aggressive. I suspect maybe the same for Las Vegas. So, but even in markets like that, we've had people tell us everybody's already sold or something. It's still probably not more than a third or half, but your question's a good one. Anybody want to share? Bill Bird might be good because he's calling divorce, but anybody else working the pre-probate, and what do you say when you're speaking to someone that just had a death in the family in the last week or so? Anybody want to contribute, volunteer?
Yes, Brenda, I'll answer a little bit to that. Although I don't personally call on them myself, I know that I've spoken to a few subscribers about it, and one thing with that is that it's obviously even that much more sensitive matter than calling on a probate because it's very recent and you're not 100% sure that you're reaching the personal representative or the person that's going to be the executor or personal of the PR. So I would just say, extra qualifying, really being more on the side of not sure if I've even have the correct information, and leaning on your expertise with families and clients that are going through probate. So I'm just, reaching out to you, and it may be a bit premature, just want to be able to offer services and resources if it's something that I can send you, and coming really from a place of service and preempting anyone getting agitated because they could be very extra sensitive at that time, I think. And going back to dialing every number, because with this, you're not certain who is going to be the person that is going to be appointed. So you make sure that you dial all the numbers that you have. And I would still encourage you to contact the attorneys. You're right. Most attorneys do have an agent that they work with, but it doesn't mean that they couldn't give you at least one deal a year even, right? So what that means to say is that you're coming to the attorney with the ability to take things off of their plate, to make their life easier. Of course, we all want to give referrals to attorneys. We can't always give it to every single one. We don't always have that opportunity, but we certainly can offer them the resources and the services that we have to make their life easier. So try coming in from that approach as a realtor. I know you can't give me every single deal, but here is what I can offer you. And if I could ever be of service to you, don't discount that opportunity with attorneys.
So Aline, forgive me, I may have missed it. So would you start, we've heard people before say they start with something like, hey, I was calling about the property 123 Main Street, Las Vegas. It appears like you might be associated with that property. Is that correct? Yeah, kind of confused. Is that the way you would do it?
So I don't start off that. I know that some people, and it depends on the area, I know that some people are very successful in going that route. I know Matt is going to laugh because when I sold in New Jersey, if I did that, they would like throw me to the curb. So they want to know what the heck. And yeah, that is kind of getting to the point. But my approach is always like, I state the purpose of why I'm calling. And I don't necessarily reference it to the address because they're dealing, and I'm not saying that that's not the right way to do it. Again, it's very personal and area specific, like county specific, but my approach that's worked for me is coming to people and always preempting it by saying, hey, I'm not sure if this is relevant at all to you. So excuse me if it isn't. I'm reaching out because I noticed, and of course, if it's probate, I would say, I noticed that you were the personal representative handling an estate. And then I qualify myself of, how I can be of service. So I would keep it pretty much the same. I'm not sure if I've reached the right person. I realize that this is a difficult time. Some people may say that I overqualify, but I don't get the phone hung up on me.
So with Brenda, she knows that all of these have real estate, but you would say something more like, I was calling about the estate of Sally Smith. Are you associated with that estate? Something like that, or not?
Something, yes, because again, we don't know that we're reaching the actual personal representative. So yes, something more along that line is what I would say. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Mm-hmm. David, you had your hand up.
Yeah, just kind of echoing some of the stories that have been shared here. I've had some experience calling pre-probates, and yeah, I mean, it went pretty well. But I would say that I guess one thing that helps me when I call them is I'm thinking like I'm speaking to someone that I know already, even though I don't know them. I pretend that I know them, and then also I want to listen to like what they're saying. And so, the first thing is I always say sorry, like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry for your loss. And then just pause. And then a lot of times you're going to get feedback, and and then you may say something like, I'm sorry for your loss. Were you close to them? You know, something of that nature. And then you get to hear their story, and then you listen to see where they're at. And then some people are going to be like, oh yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah, I know it is tough, but we expected it. And then if they actually share the story of the loss, then that's the best. Because I mean, the goal is really to connect with them. And then also, one of the things I think that helps with that is, I mean, I've seen death, and I'm sure most of you have, and I've had people close to me die, and um, I've had family go through the probate process and houses and all of that. So I'll piggyback and just share those stories and some of the struggles that we went through during that process as a family and how that all panned out. And then a lot of people can relate to that, and then they're just going to go right in, and then they're going to start talking about their story. And then, the goal is to make a friend. I mean, really, it's not really to make a sale, it's to make a friend and then to help them through that process. And I think if you connect on that level, then the next second call's not a problem, the third call's not a problem. And then a lot of these calls, they may not lead into deals right away, but at least you're making a friend so that way you can call back again.
Hey, David, Matt's got his hand up. You just reminded me like a dozen years ago when I had the idea for the company, I started doing it in my market. And I used to say, I'm sorry for your loss. And very early on, a guy said to me, don't be. Dying was the best thing that SOB ever did. And I just kind of,
Yeah.
I laughed and I said, well, in that case, congratulations. And he said,
Yeah.
he said, you know what? I like you. You got a sense of humor. But it's just
funny.
you gotta vary your approach. There's probably nothing wrong with saying I'm sorry for your loss, but after that, I started saying I'm sure this is a difficult time for your family, because
Yeah.
some people could take it as false sympathy, but again, it's how you say it. You're probably saying it in a way that they know you mean it. So
It's how you say it, and it's how long you camp out. And if I'm gonna, bring on fake tears or something, I mean, obviously that's a little too much because I never knew them. But just says, hey, I'm sorry, and just to see where they're at.
perfect, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, so one of the going back to like the original question Brenda had too about the approach, something that and I wish I remember who told me this because it's been an amazing thing that we've added into all of our calls for pre-probate. One of the things that I tell anybody that wants to go that route, I say, hey, your very best bet, form a relationship with an attorney that's willing to basically take on the business for like $500 or $1,000 because you got to meet these people where they're at in life. Right now, they just inherited a house. They're like overwhelmed. They're like, I don't know what to do. Now they got to go get an attorney. In most states, an attorney's $4, $5, $6,000. And I mean, they got to come up with that money relatively quickly in order for this all to happen. And so now they've got a big expense that just got added on that they weren't expecting. But if you can find an attorney that would allow you to say, hey, I'll go ahead, I'll do the initial representation, I'll do the paperwork, $500 I'll charge them right up front, and then they could charge more on the back end when the deal closes. I mean, that's kind of how I would do it. And we have found that our clients have had a lot more success with those leads. And it's having a unique value proposition. What is it that you have that separates you from other people? And so you calling and trying to say, oh, I'm going to buy your house for cash, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. I mean, it just doesn't get people don't welcome that approach. But if you were to come and say, well, hey, not sure if you know this, but there's quite a few things that need to happen in order for you to gain full access to the house. One of those things is getting an attorney. Not sure if you realize an attorney generally costs anywhere between $4, $5, $6,000. If I could show you a way that you could do little to no money out of pocket for that attorney, would you be open to a conversation? Most of the time, like, yeah, absolutely. And then we get them in touch with the agent. The agent then, of course, make sure it's okay with the attorney. The attorney then takes on the deal. And of course, it's written in there that the attorney is going to be paid, upon closing of the house. It's going to come out of the proceeds, out of title work or whatnot. And from there, if the person just somehow stiffs the attorney or doesn't get into the paperwork, the attorney could easily put in a mechanical or judgment or some type of lien on the house. And so, one way or the other, they're going to get paid somewhere down the line. But the big thing is it's a unique value proposition for anyone who wants to do pre-probate. And pre-probate's a gold mine, in my opinion, because you don't have an attorney yet. So you can pretty much dictate and determine where they're going to go with the deal from beginning to end, which gives you all the more leverage.
Great point. And over the years, I know we've had a number of customers that have done exactly that. And as a matter of fact, we've had customers that there's no charge up front, but the attorney will collect at the closing. Same thing with contractors. If you can find a contractor who's willing to fix the house up and wait until the closing. So yeah, any if you're going from 500 to 5,000, that's a big improvement. Even better if there's no money out of pocket until it closes. And in competitive markets, you could probably call 4 or 5 attorneys and find one of them that's willing to do that. Because like you said, they will get paid at the end anyway. They're not going to get stiff.
And usually they could charge more.
There's another option in that as well. I just spent some time yesterday morning and this morning talking with our friends at Probate Cash, and we're going to put a new program out. Not new, it's the same program that has been going, but going to kind of re-emphasize this program, and that'll help get that attorney paid for, because if you're using Probate Cash, as long as the attorney can certify that the person is going to get money as an inheritance as part of the deal, Probate Cash will furnish them money, and they can get it in advance so everybody can get paid sooner rather than later, and then they'll settle up at the table. And so that's something that I think is often overlooked as an opportunity. I just threw that into the chat area with the link to it, so you can kind of get a little more information about that. And we're probably going to have them on next week, talk a bit more about that. But they'll come out of pocket. For example, if you're going to get $100,000 out of an inheritance or out of the property when it sells, if that's what it looks like, the attorney's okay that says that's the case. Well, they'll be willing to give you 35-40% of that money right out of pocket, and very quickly they'll fund that. So that's a great way to get people paid, get things moving, get some stuff done for curb appeal, all that sort of stuff. And it's not a loan, it's an advance. So it's covered by different laws, different structure. So, keep that in mind. David, go ahead, bud.
And Tim, I was just going to say real quick, just a reminder, if you're one of our subscribers, you get a commission on that too for referring them.
That's true.
Which is a nice bonus.
Yeah, it's all on that information page.
Yep.
David, you had your hand up again, bud.
Yeah, so what about the situation now? Probate cash is if they're actually in probate, and please correct me if I'm wrong. Does the property need to remain in the estate's name? What happens if it's transferred over into the heir's name? Do they still lend?
It just depends on the relationship with the attorney, and that's a question for the attorney, not me.
So if there's no longer an attorney involved, I mean, that was my understanding, is that they have to be like in the mix with their own attorney and everything.
The attorney's got to be able to certify that there's a will and that someone that they're looking to advance money to is going to get paid. That's the requirement.
So like I have a situation where someone's going to get paid, but that the probate's pretty much done and the property's already transferred in their name. Would that program still work for them?
Potentially. Why? What did they need the money for if it's done though?
Well, now they're going to sell the house.
But what do they need it for?
Repairs.
Okay. Sure. It should be okay.
Okay.
Get the form filled out and let them figure it out.
Yeah.
They want to lend money.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Another thing. Oh, thank you. Another thing also, when making the calls, I mean, probate sometimes is a long process, and I don't know about you, but I really get to know these people by the time we're done with escrow. Like I really get to know them. One of the things that I think helps at least me is that when I'm talking to these people, I have that bent now that I'm actually here to help them. So I'm not just talking at them, I'm actually calling for them. I'm calling for them with that mindset. Like, I'm here to serve you, I'm here to help you, and I'm confident in that I am here to help you and serve you. And I think people can feel the difference if I'm calling just for a transaction or I'm calling sincerely to try to help them through the process. So I think that's just a little mindset thing that's just a small thing, but I think it makes a big difference in connecting with your audience when you make a call. Just a little fun tip there.
Jacqueline asked a question that asked if our leads are confirmed that they can text them. She can text them or use AI. So we can't give you the ability to do that at all. That relationship has to be between you and the potential lead as far as giving you permission to do that. That's a different question than, should you text them, should you call them? The permission issue is a TCPA legal issue, and you should become familiar with that. We have that text of the TCPA law on our site. We try to keep it current. It does change from time to time, but that's a different question. We can't convey the right for them to, the right for you to contact. That's between you and the end user, end customer. Monica, you asked a question about verified pre-qualified leads. I want to answer your question, but I'm not sure specifically what you're asking. I'm going to ask you to unmute, and if you'd ask your question, if you'd like, we'd like to answer you, but I want to know what you're asking a little bit more. Go ahead.
Just asking if these leads are pre-qualified vetted leads.
You mean, have we qualified them before we give them to you? Is that what you're
Right.
asking? No, we're giving you the information from the court system, and then we put them through all of the validation testing that we do to make sure that you can get in touch with them so that you can reach out to them.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. I think that, Matt, you also had asked about the Colombo approach. First of all, you're also too young to know about Colombo, but we'll go with that as well. I think you're sitting up too late watching TV at night. You want to dance through the Colombo approach real quick?
Yeah, so I mean the Colombo, so I mean, and Aline is so right. Aline actually, I owe Aline a huge debt of gratitude because she's actually helped us talk to people in New Jersey. Because when we first got started, we struggled with New Jersey. It was one of those states where people would just run us over, and it was because we were like, "Oh, hey, it's just Alex, and we're here," and we'd have these conversations, and Aline's like, "No, these people will, eat you for breakfast if you approach them that way." I'm like, "Oh man, you're so right." And then when we changed it, it helped a lot. But the Colombo approach is kind of like the "aw shucks, gee." So what do you mean by that? Like you almost play dumb, like you play coy. You're like, "Oh, well, I don't understand. How does that work?" Like where you just kind of ask them a question that you kind of obviously know the answer to, but you're trying to get them to basically divulge a ton of more information. And so it's just getting people to open up and expand. But yeah, we would use that up front. And like I said, in some states it works really well, not so much in New Jersey.
Well, New Jersey gets blamed so badly. There's a lot of wonderful, wonderful people in New Jersey.
Massachusetts is the same. I mean, it was very like you couldn't use that. I mean, it's that faster pace environment that people are just very quick on the uptake. They don't let you play those games. It's like, who are you? What do you want? Get to it right now. And so, we've kind of learned to tailor the approach per state.
What's up, David?
So someone just asked a question about the leads. I forget who it was. I don't know who it was, but so I know in the thinking process when looking for leads for probate and things, who was that just asked that question about where the leads vetted?
Monica.
So Monica, one of the things that I would want to know if I were in your shoes is if you're moving into this niche is what probate leads would be the best source for me, right? And I know from experience that I've tried a lot of different probate lead sources, and I've had success at all of them. I mean, to some degree, okay? But the all the leads is definitely the most convenient and time saving, and generally the numbers are really good. So it is a very good lead source. And then as long as you do the work, you're going to have success as long as you make the calls and you go through the process. you'll do well. And all I have to say is it's about as good as it gets. So if you're looking for something better, you're probably not going to find it. And I know from experience. So just
David,
help you out there.
she could try to find a company that will set appointments for you. So, you know, but man, they're expensive. They can be tens of $5,000 a month or 35% of your commission. And, you know, who's to say the appointment is good? So we give you as good a data as you can get, and we're sure pretty sure the data is very accurate, but you still got to get on the phone and make the calls. Go ahead, David. Your hand up again?
Yeah. Just to piggyback off what you're saying there, I've tried that too, and that kind of works, but it doesn't work that great. Like no one's going to do a better job than you at this. That's what I found. I've had other people try to score leads for me and things like that, and the volume just wasn't good enough, and they just weren't that great at it. Like you're going to do a better job yourself figuring this out and then controlling your own flow. So at least you're going to be able to hit your numbers. One of the great things about real estate is you get to set your own goals and hit your own numbers. And if you're going to hire someone else to do that, that ought to be a supplement of what you're already doing and working. If you want a sustainable business, depends how successful you want to be. If you're like, I only want one or two a year, then yeah, hire it out, do whatever you want. You'll probably get one or two a year. But if you're like, no, I want to succeed and I want to actually have a regular flow, you're going to have to jump in. And I mean, eventually you got to call them anyway. So even if I get a warm lead, I got to call them eventually. You know, a lot of the reason why people want to hand it out to everyone is because of call reluctance, because they're afraid to make the calls themselves. Well, eventually you got to close the deal. I mean, there's no getting around it. And sure, it's going to save time to get someone else in there, but eventually you're going to have to build a relationship with them. Eventually you got to make the call. So yeah, even doing that, um, it's kind of I mean, in my experience, it kind of works, but it's overall, it's not worth it. It's kind of a waste of money, in my opinion. Unless you're supplementing, like I want one or two extra from these guys or something, then that's cool.
Well,
But if
David, a
you're,
lot of, I'll have to say your experience is different in some respects because you get into doing this. You don't have any of those concerns and you want to get after it. There are a lot of people that are, quite good at doing it. They're just not good at that first call. They just don't seem to be able to do that. That's why Matt, and his folks are so successful, stepping in and getting this done. But you're making a good point. At some point, you're going to have to talk to them. And
yeah,
that's really the key. And I think it's a question about if you're going to automate parts of your business, think about what you're automating. And it's always good to automate anything you can if you can do it. You just have to make sure that the things you're automating have the best payback in terms of your bang for the buck about what you're spending it on.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, doke. Jimmy, back to you, bud.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just thinking of Aline's situation. You know, you taught Matt how to make the calls in New Jersey, then you moved to Florida. We've got a client named Winston that went from Southern California to Alabama, and 6 months later he moved back to Southern California. So one of our sales team one time said, I just hate calling people from Georgia. And I said, really, why? She goes, they're too nice. They'll talk to you for 20 minutes before they tell you they're not interested. I'd much rather talk to somebody in New Jersey. We'll tell you right away. Go, no, I'm not interested, so I can move on to the next call. And the point being, no matter where you're at, you're probably calling out of market people. So if you are someone in Georgia, calling somebody in New Jersey, you might want to just listen and see if you need to vary your approach a little bit. If you're a transplant in the market, because it's not always what you say as much as it is how you say it. And if you come in with the mindset that you communicate with them on their own turf, makes a huge difference. So good lesson that we could all learn in our calls every day.
Well, another thing that oftentimes people overlook, they're looking at a kind of a cattle car approach to this. I've got 100 leads and they're all the same. It's like they look at them all the same. They're not all the same. You've got to look through them. And if you find that in your properties that you have in those leads, that some of them are out of market. If you're in South Florida and you've got you've got a person who's passed away who owned property in New York or owned property in Chicago and, Idaho or whatever. Those are out of market. And if another family member is not in that house, that's going to get sold. And so that's a quick one that's going to have to happen somewhere. And those, you got to look at where's the fruit hanging the lowest. What can you pick? So go through your list to begin with and do a quick, triage and say, wow, these are the ones I should probably focus my energy on really quickly. The rest of them, you may want to have an organized process that goes through it. So you have, here's what I do with my out of market leads. Here's what I do with my in market leads that fit this criteria in terms of my sweet spot. My sweet spot is, 3 2s in about 7 zip codes in my marketplace. Well, if they hit that sweet spot, I'm going to focus on them really hard. If they don't hit that sweet spot, I still want them, still interested about them, but I'm going to triage my leads to start with. Every month, I'm going to triage them and go after the ones that I have the best opportunity to make the best income most quickly, and you can provide the greatest value for. Because remember that nobody raised their hand and said, "Hey, I want to be a personal representative." Boy, that's really what I want to do with my life, because it's not a good job. It's not a thankful job. It's not you're under all kinds of pressure. First of all, you got to deal with the fact that the person that passed away, you're entrusted with the last most important thing, has to do with their legacy. If you screw that up and everybody in the family is pissed off when they're done, man, you've done a really horrible service for a person that trusted you to make, the end of their life and their wishes, make everybody happy. And it's a hard thing to go do. And I've been there. It's kind of how we got into a lot of the things that we're into. You experience them yourselves. And it's a tough thing. It's not an easy thing to go do. And you got to keep that in mind, that person that you're talking to is automatically under stress. They've got to do the best thing they can for the heirs. They got to do the best thing for themselves to get it over with quickly. They want this done with. They don't want it to drag out. So think about where their pain point is as well. It may not be that property. It may be, oh, how am I going to find all these people that owe money, that I owe money to? Or what am I going to do about this house? I don't know anything about this house. You've got all kinds of opportunity to help. Find the pain point. You're the right person to do that if you know about it more than anybody else does. Matt?
Hey, real quick before I get to Matt, I was going to compliment you, Matt. We've had a number of people, when you talk about triaging the leads, remember it doesn't have to be either or. I've had people, I did the refresh program, came back with a large number, and they said, well, I'll call the absentee owners and I'll give the rest to Matt. Or, or if you're not going to call any of them, they'll say, hey, I'm going to have Matt call the absentee owners first. You can, if you think you're good and you like being on the phone, then call the high impact ones. If you're not going to get around to the others, there's still gold in there. Give it to Matt and let him do those. But it can be.
Let him know what you're giving him. Don't just dump all the leads over and let them go figure it out. If you've got, 7 out of market, say, hey, start with these. Let's see what we can do with these. Exhaust these out. Call them as many times as you can to get to them.
Yep.
I know those are going to change hands quickly. That's important. Matt, you were going to say something, bud.
I actually got really excited over macro growth analytics and the question in here. And so I kind of wanted to jump in on this because I have a lot of experience with this. So guys, when I first started my inside sales company, this was 11 years ago. We started with people in the Philippines. They could barely pronunciate names, counties, cities, areas. Now, hey, I still hire folks from the Philippines, but they do not ever touch a telephone. They don't make phone calls. They're amazing administrative staff. They're great help. I've got some folks. I mean, I have somebody in operations that literally runs a part of our operations. Brilliant mind, but has a lot of trouble selling and convincing and persuading over the phone. And so I saw in here, hey, I want to outsource my operations, focus on building and scaling. I want to look at outsourcing offshore teams. You can outsource, sure. You're going to pay, again, being very transparent. It's when you outsource to, Iran, Philippines, I've heard India, all these different areas. You're going to pay less for the folks, but the quality is going to be really, really rough. And so if you're asking them to set up an appointment or you want them to set up an opportunity over the phone, I mean, it's different if you're just saying, hey, I want to email you information or I want to do something like that. Okay, fine. But if you're talking about a full-blown trying to set up an appointment with someone who's not culturally from the US, it becomes very difficult for them to relate. And these are the most intimate, personal, uh, meaningful calls that you're going to make. This is not an expired or a for sale by owner or somebody who, pie in the sky wants to go buy a house in Southern Florida because they're sick of living in New York. And again, you get a lot of those, but these are folks that have real needs. And so to put somebody on the phone that's not going to be a great representation of you, just so that you could, kind of save some money on it, it's generally not going to get you the best results. And yes, you could say I'm biased because all of our guys are from the US. We hire, people that have lived in the States. But I think it's really important to just specify that you're going to trade that quality for, you're going to have a lot of missed opportunities. And so the missed opportunity generally outweighs that. I saw that question. That was a great question. So I wanted to make sure. And going back to what David said, uh, David has a really good point. David's probably the most outgoing, super outgoing guy. Like he's very well spoken. He knows what he's saying. He knows what he's doing. He's got confidence. He's got swagger about himself. People feel that and see that. Not everybody is like that, though. Some people are deathly afraid of the phone. I have people that tell me all the time, you get me in front of somebody at their table, I'm golden. But put me on the phone and I'm like stuttering Stanley. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. And I can't even formulate a sentence. So there are a lot of people that struggle with that. So if you're going to make the calls yourself, by all means, that's going to give you, if you're good at it and you're like, it's like, working out. If you're going to get focused on getting better at it, it's absolutely the best way to do it. But if you're not, then I would feel we're the second best to help you grow that or be a, a help or an assistance to you to help you grow if you're looking to scale faster.
Well, Matt, I can't hire somebody to work out for me. That doesn't work.
No, you can't delegate that. It's one of those things you can't really delegate.
Darn
Hey,
it.
Michael, I see you got your hand up there. And before you do that, guys, it's we got 4 minutes until the top of the hour, and we try to stay pretty tight on just keeping you here for an hour. So if you have anything else you'd like to ask and raise your hand, do it now so we know what's in the queue because we'll try to cut this off at the top of the hour. Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is sort of directed toward Matt, and if you need to follow up with me in person, Matt, that's fine. You can do it off the call. So I'm starting to get a little traction with my lead magnet. So my call to action in my letters is go to my lead magnet, download a little PDF brochure, right? And so we're getting somewhere between we're averaging about 16 to 20 people per month that are actually going to that website, to that lead magnet. And downloads are only about 2 or 3 a month. So that's still not too bad. But the question is, what can I do to maximize the people that are going but not downloading, right? I want to become omnipresent with those people that, touch that website somehow. Is there a way to do that through Facebook or through technology somehow?
Yeah, I would I would do like a pixel. You set like a Facebook pixel, and with that pixel, you'd have it set up based on a certain action. So like, and I don't want to get too nerdy on the call here, but we could definitely talk offline, absolutely. But the easiest thing to do would be you set it up on an action like, hey, if you were selling e-commerce, it'd be opened up a cart. For your situation, it would be, oh, hey, you landed on my web page. And you could put in there, hey, this is the specific link that they landed on. So I could help you with that with like Google Tag Manager and a couple other things to help bring them back around. And then what you'd want to do is you'd either want to create really short snippet videos or you'd want to have like a short snippet video, for example, like we've been doing this AI cloning thing. I actually have 2 AI clones built out of me. I didn't talk to Tim about this before. Maybe next call I can show you guys. I have one that's Ozempic Matt, and I have one that's really fat Matt. My admin has not figured out how to make me like, the right body size. So one of me is like over 400 pounds. The other one's like 120. I'm like, all right, we got to come up with a happy medium. But using the AI, the AI clone, I can actually retarget and do specific videos for the page that they clicked on. So, yeah, Michael, happy to talk to you more about that. And I know we're getting to the top of the hour, so
Michael,
well,
the
go
other,
ahead and put
other
it on your
thing,
schedule to reach back out to me, Matt, whenever you get a chance.
yeah.
All
the
right, thank
only
you.
other thing I would say, Michael, is that it's also an opportunity, if you want, to add an AI chat to your site, so that if they get there, the chat is somewhat interruptive. It pops up as a pop-up and says, "Hey, I'm whatever you want to call your chat bot, and I'm here to help you. Do you have any questions, or have you downloaded our PDF? Here's a link to it." And shove it in their face a little bit that you're there to help, and let your AI take a lot of that stuff on while you're there. That's the whole purpose of using it. If you're getting that many people coming to your site, you're doing a good job driving traffic. Get the most out of it that you can. Beat them up while they're there. Okay? All right. Guys, it is 1:59. I don't see any other hands up, and we're going to call it a day. This has been another good session here. They always are, and appreciate you being here, Jim.
I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. I want to particularly thank Matt. You've become more than just an affiliate. You're kind of a coach. you're an unofficial coach. So thanks for all of your help. Also, Steve, Connor, Aline, Brenda, David, Tim, Monica, and Michael. I want to thank you all for actively participating. I want to challenge each of you. Take one idea. We had some good ones on this call. Take one idea that inspired you. Go out and put it into practice and come back next Thursday and share your results with the group. Have a great week, everybody. Same time next Thursday. Take care.
David Bell, we got you squared away. I don't know if you saw the note in the chat there, but you're squared away. And I'm gone. Have a good week.